So I was doing what I do, just thinking about what we should do for our next class a couple days ago, and I'm sitting there looking at my incredibly toned body and realized we should talk about tone.
Oh,
Haha. You like that little tie-in?
yeah, that was good.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about tone. Not necessarily just toners. Well, that is going to be a big part of it, obviously. I want to talk about tone overall. So I was working with Matt a little bit. He came up with some great graphics for us to be working with to help give a little bit of a callback to what we all learned at the beginning of doing hair that I think some of us tend to kind of stray away from as time goes on. I know I'm guilty of it. So I'm sure there are plenty of other people that can tend to be a little bit guilty of, whether it is just having that favorite toner that you just slap on everybody, or coming up with the excuses of, don't worry, a little bit of warmth is good. It keeps it looking natural, when really these things didn't have to be there in the first place. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How cute is that? So here's our color wheel. We all remember this. We all reference it. But we're just going to go over the basics again real quick, just as a quick reminder. So obviously you've got your primary colors. Those are the ones that you can't create. They just are what they are. They are the base of all colors, followed by your secondary, and then the tertiaries around those. I'm going to be referencing a lot of them. Let's go ahead, now that we've got this, we've got that established, we're doing color wheel, we're going to be talking a lot about it. I just want to go ahead and go over the dominant pigment chart real quick. The one thing that I am working on is I want to let people just be wrong from now on when they say something to me if it's really not detrimental. And what I mean by that is, how many clients do you have that sit down and say, well, my hair lifts red? I don't know what hairdressers are telling them that they're unique in that, because this is something that happens to everybody. So I take that back. That's not one of the places where I'm trying to let people be wrong. That's one of the places where I take an opportunity to educate my guest. Because one, it's going to take the pressure off of you, and it also takes the blame off of them. There's nothing wrong with them because their hair is coming out warm. Their hair's coming out warm because hairdressers in the past have not corrected that. If they're noticing that and saying, oh, my hair comes out red, that usually means that their hair is coming out a lot warmer than they like it to. So that means it's your opportunity to maybe educate them a little bit. I cannot tell you how many times I've actually gone to our color book and taken out whatever color line's version of this sheet is to show them an underlying pigment chart and just explain to them a little bit. Everybody's hair is gonna turn warm as we start to lift it in any way, shape, or form. That might not just be highlights. You could be taking somebody who's like salt and pepper from a level 4 to a level 6 because they like that nice, rich base that a 6 gives them. But all of the pepper that's in their salt and pepper is dark hair that is going to lift, and it's going to lift warm. So that's something that does need to be taken into account. And that's where you have an opportunity to make your guest really, really happy with you. So just refreshing over a dominant pigment chart for yourself, looking at your color line, whatever color line you work with, I guarantee they have got their own version of a color map in there that shows you exactly, so that you don't have to guess where their color lies on the actual color wheel, so that you can then reference an underlying pigment chart like this and realize that, okay, if I'm going from a 4 to a 6 or a 5 to an 8, this is where I'm going to land. This is what I'm going to have to deal with. It is not a question. You are going to have to deal with some form of warmth in that hair. And so having something like this can help you understand, if you're trying to neutralize out that warmth, what you're going to have to use to do it. I know it's a huge thing in hair the past few years to try to be, and I say few years because that's as long as I've been dealing with it. Maybe it's for much, much longer. But it's ashy hair, it's cool hair, it's, always trying to neutralize. But you also need to understand that neutralizing doesn't necessarily mean completely flattening out any warmth that's in the hair. I personally do like warm colored hair. I think it looks really good and healthy on the right type of person. So I don't necessarily need to get rid of everything, like with the level 8 where you see that yellow orange, maybe I don't go in with necessarily a blue violet to get rid of all of the warmth. I just want to get rid of some of the deeper tones of that warmth. So maybe I would just go in with a blue base toner, but being careful not to turn the yellow green, but softening the blue a little bit. You see what I'm saying? That's where you get to play around a little bit, but being conscious of what you're doing. Because the reason you go in with a blue violet to completely neutralize that is because the violet's going to take care of the yellow, the blue's going to take care of the orange, and then you've got your neutral. So that's where we as artists get to play around a little bit and create whatever kind of tone we want. You just need to be more conscious about it. I'll go ahead and jump right into showing you the tones that we use with this mannequin. The first thing I want to show you on Dolly, this back panel you see right here is untouched. I did not color this at all, so this is how she started. It's a very warm, very, I'm going to say, yeah, it's a very golden, yellow, blonde. I was into it. I did try to throw a couple highlights in there, so you might see a little bit of dimension, but nothing too crazy. I really wanted to work more with the base itself. I wanted to show 3 different very popular toners and how they would show up on a subject like this. The first, I just went with a 9N. If you look at that side to side in this lighting, I'm very thankful for this lighting because this is the most contrast I've seen between the two. It's very little, but there is a little bit in there. Because what the 9N is doing is it's going in and just trying to put a neutral toner over something that has a much stronger pigment. So it didn't really do much, if you notice that, because we weren't trying to enhance or neutralize. We were just trying to add color to something that already had color. It has a strong, warm pigment in there. So it really just sort of added maybe a little bit of depth, but not a huge color shift. Then jumping into embracing the warmth of it, you see where I went in with a really rich golden. I used Paul Mitchell's The Demi 9, is it Y? G, 9G for gold. And I think it's absolutely beautiful because like I said, I really love warm colors. And it just adds so much richness without necessarily, making it brassy. People are always so afraid of warm colors, thinking that it has to be brassy or, just not pretty. But if you know what you're doing and you go in with intention, it can be really, really rich and gorgeous. I also noticed that it makes it, if you look at this compared to the back, it's not that it's darker, it's just that it has more color to it. It has more pigment, which makes it look like it's darker than the uncolored hair. So take that into account. This is just a 9. Sorry, this is the 9. So you see, it is still a true 9. It just has more pigment to it. And then finally, I went in with a 9A. Everybody loves an ash. Everybody loves that smoky kind of blonde. And it's this, I was just telling Matt before we started, this has been the most fascinating panel of hair because I've taken this with me. I put it on in the salon. I've taken it home to dress it up and then bringing it back here. In every light, it is so different. The lighting of my apartment, this was a very pretty, it was very soft. It wasn't anything too harsh. It wasn't anything that might make somebody go like, ugh. But then in, certain lights, it's, a little greenish. That's because I put an A, which is a blue base, over this very golden color. So while it did tone things down, it also added a very hint of an underlying green to it because that's what yellow and blue make, as we just saw on our color wheel. I like ashy tones, but this is where I always make sure that I remember to point out to my guests that are wanting, I want like really bright white blondes. You got to be real clear with yourself and with them that once you start, because people think white and ash or platinum and white are hand in hand, but you need them to understand that when you're going in with anything smoky and ashy, cool colors just naturally look a little bit darker. That's their job. Warm colors reflect light, cool colors absorb light.